OK，那我们这次呢，请到了 Gordon Hayward，然后作为我们的嘉宾，我们也是很高兴看到他的手恢复的非常好。So Gordon, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And like what I said, I always like to prepare a little bit rapid fire question to warm the players up.
Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, first, how much hair gel or hair glue do you consume every year?
Oh man, maybe like one or two products, like like the basic little, what is that called, case? Not
Okay.
that much.
Not that
It
much.
doesn't. It honestly doesn't take that much product to get my hair to stay. It's more about blow drying your hair than spraying it. So I don't use too much.
If you could choose any place to live in the world, what would it be?
We're both from Indiana, so I'd have to say our families are both in Indiana, and although the weather there is not the greatest, there's no beach or mountains. It's where family is, and so probably I'd say Indiana.
If you are not a professional basketball player, what kind of job would you be doing right now?
If I could, I would be a professional tennis player. Tennis was the other sport that I played growing up, and I love tennis, and so I think that would be really cool to be a professional tennis player.
We have to talk about Brad Stevens because obviously he is a big, he's your teacher or he's your mentor because you guys went to NCAA finals together.
Yeah.
So talk about your relationship between you and him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we've had a relationship for a lot of years now, and he was in the gym, my high school gym, at 5:45 in the morning watching workouts when I was just a kid, and then lucky enough to go play for him at Butler, and we had a great run there, and then I left early and went to the NBA, and he was still kind of doing his thing in college, and then kind of, I think it was 9 years later, we reunite, and so it was crazy how that was kind of full circle, and he didn't change much at all. I think we both kind of grew up. Me, obviously, more than him, with just at that point in time, had a wife and kid, and but it was so familiar. It was almost like I never left Butler when we first came together, and so I think he's a tremendous coach, and more than anything, a great person, which is something that he's kind of brought that to the whole Celtic culture for our team.
How much do you think his impact kind of giving you in your long-term career path and also your decision making, especially joining Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was the first guy that kind of told me he thought I could play in the NBA. Like I said, it was a dream of mine to play, but I never really kind of thought I would actually make it. But he told me, I remember he told me the first time we sat down in his office, he thinks, it's going to take a lot of work, but I could see you playing at the next level. And so that was really cool to hear him say that, and made me work pretty hard. And so I think beyond all the other things, that's the thing that stuck with me the most, is that he kind of believed in me from the beginning.
And look at the roster of Celtics, because you guys have a lot of big names. They left, but you guys are still doing pretty well. So what do you think is something special about this team right now, especially the roster?
Yeah, we had a lot of roster changes, but we also got some really good players as well. I mean, Kemba Walker coming over from Charlotte he's been really good for us, and then our younger guys are just getting more experience and getting older, and so Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart their games have all grown as the years have gone by, and I think we've got a bunch of guys that play the right way, that want to win basketball games, and that play really hard, and so that's a good formula.
When you were injured, because it was a pretty long, big injury, so you missed almost the entire season, and how much support did your teammates and especially Brad Stevens have been giving you?
Yeah, that was a tough season for sure, especially it being the first one being in Boston, and it was hard to sit there and watch the whole season, but the staff was great, working with me and trying to rehab and trying to include me along with the team, even though I couldn't play, and Coach Stevens too, just kind of just being there to talk to, or to he would bounce ideas off of me to try to kind of, like I said, include me into what they were doing, and so that was good. So this is the basement of the house, and kind of where I do a lot of the recovery.
Yes, your recovery process. A lot of people, they care.
Right, so this is kind of like our exercise room, and then I put this machine right here, which is called a Delos machine, and basically it helps me work on proprioception. And so kind of the way that it works is you use this computer, and this is just a monitor, and you put this kind of device on, And then
Can you show us just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So like.
I mean, you don't really have to do it. But
Right. So like I would put this device on,
Yeah.
and as you can see, it's kind of connected here to the computer through all these cords, and you kind of basically are balancing on both feet, left and right, because you don't just want to not do the right too. And as you're balancing on this machine, and it has you do different things, it tracks it and shows you on the monitor. And so it's been really helpful for me to kind of have that to work with. There's a lot of teams in the NBA that have a system, but I decided that I just wanted to have one at my house because I thought that I really needed it, and so it's been really helpful to have that and be able to continue to work on my, because the injury was a couple years ago, but it helps me now, and I think a lot of players in the NBA use it even if they're not hurt, because it helps you out. So
how much? What's a daily basis? Like, do you do this in daily basis?
I do it probably. You're supposed to do it like 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
To be really helpful.
You mentioned like the physically and the mental, it was all tough. But let me ask this way: like, you were picked by Utah, then you played there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you made the big decision to join Boston Celtics, and you get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Then you came back, but you were struggle a little bit on the court. Obviously, you heard some people giving you criticize, some people different voices coming everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have at some point you were like doubt about yourself, or had a little bit like a regret at one point?
I've never had regret about coming here to Boston. I mean, I think that certainly when you're coming back from a major injury, I think the mental hurdle is that last hurdle that you need to get over, and sometimes the hardest one. And so there's no question that I had doubts and was doubting myself a little bit. And you're trying to work yourself back into the NBA after being out for a whole year. And so I mean, it was certainly something I'd never gone through. That was my first major injury, and so to have to kind of do that, it was a difficult year, and definitely. Could be frustrating at times, but I think just tried to work through it and do the best that I could. And for the most part, my whole career, I've always felt like if I play as hard as I can and do the best that I can, that's I don't have to worry about anybody criticizing me because I'm not playing for them or anything like that. So.
Paul George also had a very similar injury like yours, and he said like it took him almost 3 years to fully come back.
Yeah.
Also including mental and physically. Do you think right now you're at the stage that you're fully come back?
Mentally, I feel great. I mean, I think obviously I broke my hand, and so that kind of has derailed me a little bit. But after going through the other injury, this is absolutely nothing compared to that. But before I broke my hand, I was feeling physically great. Mentally, was feeling really, really good, and felt like we were building a lot of momentum, our team, and we have been playing good basketball this year. So, a lot of people have asked me like, "Are you 100% back?" And I think, to me, this it's like back to what? Like it's a different team, a different system. It's going to be different from Utah no matter what. And so, like I said, I was physically and mentally was feeling really good.
I talked to Kobe. They also say rehabbing is a very boring process.
Yes.
So you just gotta be very patient. But what was the most challenging part for you mentally?
Yeah, mentally, it's the physical part of it is not usually that difficult. I mean, there's some pain involved and certainly things you have to push through. But mentally, that's the hard part because it is frustrating and tedious, and you're doing the same exercises day in and day out to maybe gain an inch or gain a degree worth of whatever you're trying to accomplish. And so to be doing it for hours only to see minimal results can be very frustrating. So it's really just the long haul, the long process that to me is something that you kind of have to get used to, and you have to accept that it's going to be a long time to recover, and you have to put in all the work, and you're not going to get extreme results right away. So that's probably the hardest part of recovering and rehabbing.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports analysis and highlights, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.